Three, two, one, zero, and liftoff.
Welcome to Mission Control, Peralta Design's podcast on all things branding and digital marketing. Since 2008, Peralta Design has launched hundreds of brands with award-winning identities and websites. Join our hosts Ramon and Jorge as they use decades of combined experience to tackle topics with past clients, industry partners, and the rest of the PD crew. At Peralta Design, we launch brands. But for now, let's launch right into this episode of Mission Control.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mission Control, where we respect the grind and reclaim the American dream. I am your host, Ramon Peralta from Peralta Design, and we launch brands. I'm very excited today for our guest. He is a founder, an analyst, a grant writer, and he is a CEO at Tangible Analytics. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Bryan Tamburrino.
Hey, thank you. It's just a quick intro. My name is Bryan. I've founded Tangible like maybe 3.5 years ago, and spent a lot of time growing, pivoting, learning. What we do is we take data and make it tangible. So what I'm saying here
This is like when they say the title of a movie while you're watching the movie.
Yeah.
You just did that.
Yeah, sorry. So to summarize, we're a consulting firm, specializes in custom data solutions for government entities and small, medium-sized, really any size business. I have a really solid team, so we do some things like software development. Me personally, I focus on like business intelligence tools, maybe Zoho Analytics or Power BI. New reporting methods, data analysis, and then recently we've broken into the grant preparation space. So in addition to everything else, now we have a pretty solid presence in like the municipal space, doing grant writing, recently been certified CDBG, which is through the Department of Housing. State of Connecticut Department of Housing has a small cities block development grant. So smaller population, lower levels of tax revenue, these cities are able to kind of apply for these really great grant opportunities. And the state will give them the funding so that they can maybe do some improvements in communities that need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for example, what, housing or beautification or education, like social programs?
I don't know about any education, but a lot of this project has to do with environmental requirements. So I don't know, maybe brownfield remediation could be an example of a project, right? And that's just kind of in the grant space. Really what I focus on with the BI stuff, we're talking sales performance, forecasting. Lately, I've been really getting a hit on like virtual events. A lot of my clients have, actually two of the clients that I have now host virtual events, and we track a lot of different metrics that are very, very helpful for them. Maybe number of entries to a specific page. We consider them booths as you would if you went to like, a business expo is I guess what I'm trying to say, all virtual. So
yeah, I haven't done one of those yet. I keep seeing that stuff, a virtual booth, but anyway, man, the grant writing part fascinates me because I'm assuming your ability to put together data helps in the grant writing, but are you also just a naturally gifted writer? Because these things are not easy to put together. I mean, this is a lot of work. I mean, what's the page count on an average grant application?
They vary, but the first question is yes. Sometimes it just comes naturally to people. And like, I don't know, high school English or something, that's a whole different type of writing. But I had a professor when I first started going to college, and what was her name? Miss whatever it was. I'm sorry, I forgot her name, but it was a business writing course, and she really put a very large emphasis on like, if you learn how to write, it's going to better your odds of being successful. So I really focused at that point on like let's say resume building and writing professional emails and all this. And then when it came time to start writing proposals for projects for my business, responding to state RFPs, and then eventually getting into the grants, it just came really naturally because I had that like kind of just the ability to put a spin, and it took some practice, definitely, but the core of it came naturally, and polishing it up was really the key to all of it.
And what's your success rate? Are you like batting 1,000? Are you like 0 for 5? Like what with grants towards winning them? What's that look like?
No, so I mean, the latest project that I've done, City of Ansonia, we've done, I don't know, in the last year, maybe put in 10 grant applications, probably 8 for 10 at this point.
That's pretty dope. That's 80%.
Yeah. Success rate is pretty good. Not all large grants, but many of them working with FEMA or Department of Housing, like I mentioned before. Some grants for like volunteer fire departments. So really helpful funding for the cities.
Now, is that? I know we're supposed to talk about pivots later, but is the grant writing something that came out of the pandemic? Because a couple of years ago, you weren't doing grant writing. This is relatively new.
Well, a couple of years ago, I didn't even know how to explain what I did. So
I remember that. Yeah.
So I think that it really just developed over time. Like, so I did a pro bono project when I first started, just a pro bono. I don't even really know what that means, but I did a project for free for the Valley United Way. They gave me, Sharon gave me a really great opportunity to start working with them on the Grow Your Own Garden project. And because of all the information that I was tracking, she said, like, this would be really useful in a grant setting. So I used my writing and data preparation skills to put together some stuff for her to submit to the Valley Community Foundation. They received that grant, and then it just kind of started me on this path. So no, this is not really COVID, but COVID definitely helped expedite this process. Yeah. That CDBG certification I mentioned earlier, it's the course is 8 days. So like 6 or 7 hours per day, and it's supposed to be on site in Hartford. But because it was virtual, I was able to sit at my desk while I'm working to learn about the CDBG, and then eventually be certified and not have to spend a week in Hartford. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Right. That's interesting. I'm going to give you the great idea sound effect here. Because you mentioned something there. You started out. You said two things, and I believe that COVID didn't really cause anything, but it sped things up. I think it was a catalyst. If your business was tanking, it was going to tank faster. If your business was growing, you were going to grow faster. I think it was more of a catalyst, if anything. But I love that you took basically an opportunity to work with a nonprofit, the Valley United Way stuff, to do your data work, and that opened the door into the grant writing, which is now a service offering. And I think that in itself is valuable the valuable nugget for any entrepreneur out there. Like, oh yeah, why would I want to do this? You just never know. You help an organization like Valley United Way, you practice your craft, and then it could potentially lead to a new service vertical that you're offering now for the city of Ansonia. I mean, that in itself, I think is a great message.
Yeah, definitely. There's I'm just happy that I seized the opportunity.
Yeah, that's the key thing. Now, I want to go back to your backstory because I don't want to skip over that. I'd like to know everybody's origin story. Yes, you were not. I'm just gonna say you were rough around the edges when it came to like presenting. Let's just put it that way. I witnessed the early days of Bryan, and let's just say you were brave. You were willing to do it. And you sound and obviously present much better now. So you've matured in that regard. But tell me, what about your past do you think was the key to your passion for numbers and data? Because it's not the most exciting stuff. Like this, like data and research. So, like I hate details, but you live in the details. So tell me, did you used to collect, I don't know, coins when you were little? Like, is there something that glimpses into your past that maybe kind of gives us a taste as to why you got into this field?
No, you know what's interesting? Collect Pokemon cards or something like that. That was cool.
If you still have some of those are valuable now.
Yeah, unfortunately I don't. But it just kind of, just like business writing, it just came naturally to me. And I tried to pivot out of this career at one point when I was like, what do I do? I just ended a contract. I didn't have a job. I was not really sure if I was going to stay in this. And I was thinking about like different career paths. And the only thing that I'm really good at was this, or like light duty construction. So I think that logically putting together these numbers just makes sense. There's no like, all right, for instance, business strategy or marketing strategy, as you do, right? You have to be really good and know exactly the direction and notice these changes in environmental and personal changes and how to adapt to these situations and really have a success rate. Whereas if I put together a dashboard, I have the numbers, I do a calculation, this is exactly what it's supposed to be. Right. So I have this result that by taking steps and using the logic, it just comes together. And that's really the way that like my mind works. And that's why it translates well to say, repairing an engine or building a wall or putting a kitchen together. Right. Because it's like really just putting together a large puzzle, except now in my profession, it's a virtual puzzle.
Yeah, no, were you good at math? I mean, because this seems like statistics and there's some predictive analytics or economics where you can say, well, based on this trend or these figures, I can forecast. Is that a lot of the jargon you're using in tangible, where you can take a company's information? And in school, I'm still trying to dig at, like, I'm still trying to learn about the young Bryan. Like, what was it like for you? Were you a nerd because you were doing so much math? Like, what was going on?
Really, I didn't. It's such an odd setup because I didn't pay attention in school. It just came naturally to me.
So this is one of those where, like, imagine how smart you would be if you actually tried, kind of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it came from a really solid foundation, because probably up until sometime in high school, I was like all A's and I paid attention in class all the time. And then high school gets carried away with you or whatever. You get carried away with high school and distracted. And then, next thing you know, college came along, and when I finally hit a statistics course, now, by the way, I was trying to teach my brother some math, and I bought like a 6th grade math book or something like that. And they're already teaching these kids basic statistics and fractions in 6th grade, which is going to put me out of business eventually. So I took this statistics course, and the first time I failed, but like I said, it's a virtual puzzle. So putting all this information together, I like really wanted to do it. I knew the value in it because the statistical analysis can be applied to anything. If you have, marketing data, financial data, e-commerce data, sales, whatever it is. So I recognized the value, and it took a lot of practice and repetition and putting these formulas together. But like anything else, you get the formula down, you apply it to different models, and then when it comes to like today, the application is really just different methods of modeling, different terminology within the languages, different approaches to like finding the result that you need as opposed to the result that you want.
Okay, so what did you major in when you went to school?
Oh, so my bachelor's degree was corporate finance, because I was in accounting and I did not like it. It was boring to me. And I think that also translates well into my personality and how it got so involved with the predictive side of things. I transitioned into finance, corporate finance bachelor's. That was from Housatonic, then Post University. And then recently, maybe 2 years ago, two and a half years ago, I got a master's in business analytics from Quinnipiac.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a good opportunity.
Yeah. Now, did you work someplace like we got entrepreneurs, we launch brands, that whole spiel. We got entrepreneurs listening, people that are starting up companies. What was your path towards having your own business? Did you work somewhere for a time and then venture out as a consultant, or did you launch Tangible right out of school?
No, I did not. So I got out of school with my bachelor's, and I worked in the corporate world maybe 6 years, 7 years. No, probably. Yeah, let's say 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
And I was a junior analyst, and then, first I was a marketing analyst, and then a junior financial, and then just regular financial. And I was doing the whole corporate thing, but I like to be exciting, and I like to see what's going to happen. So truthfully, the experience that I got there, all of the work, like the methods of putting this stuff together, learning the fundamentals of all of these different types of analysis, that was what I took from it. And what I also took from it was that I'm not really a big fan of the whole corporate office setting. I would go into work, I would finish my project, we'd be doing something in Excel. In my most recent position, we'd be doing something in Excel. And by the way, I was working different contract positions. I wasn't like getting fired and getting new jobs. So, my most recent position, I'd come in and I'd complete this report in Excel in like 3.5, 4 hours, and I'll send it off. And then, oh, no, something must be wrong with it. I'm like, no, there's nothing wrong with it. This is just, it's automation. And that specific company that I was working for, at that point, we could have easily put Power BI in. It was like the early stages of Power BI.
What's Power BI?
Oh, so Power BI is it's one of the BI platforms that I talk about. So data visualization, different methods of reporting. Now they've got a bunch of really intuitive stuff where features where they can bring maybe R, Python, different types of code in so you can manipulate the data in like really advanced ways. I'm still a Power BI partner technically. That was my first program partnership, but I've recently moved to Zoho Analytics. Oh, and back to the corporate thing, the point of what I was trying to say is, I lost my train of thought. I would finish this work early and I wanted to learn how to do something else or use some other program or do something more advanced. And I was always saying, like, I'm going to get my master's at some point. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to get my master's, and then it would just never happen. So when that contract ended, instead of trying to find something else, I just took some time and figured this out,
Yeah. And in the corporate environment, sometimes they want you to stay within your box, and if you're the kid that finishes his test early and is looking for something else to do, either you're making other people look bad or they don't want you to challenge outside of your role, and that's why a lot of people some people thrive in corporate, and some people, I think if you find yourself in that situation, like where you want to do more and you're bored and you want to be challenged, then you might be an entrepreneur. That's kind of like the litmus test. Because entrepreneurs end up butting heads with a lot of people in corporate. I just think that's just their personalities. Have you ever done a personality test, like a DISC assessment or anything?
Oh my God, what was it? I don't remember the results, but yes, I have.
Yeah.
When I told all my friends, they're like, no duh.
You probably liked, I'm going to guess it was like a high C, like details, maybe a little bit of D, because you got to be kind of like decisive and to be an entrepreneur, you gotta be a risk taker.
Yeah.
So
what about you? Have you?
Yeah, we all do. We live by it, maybe because that's the only way we know how to talk to each other is like figuring out, well, this person's a high I or this person's a DI, and then it's like we have little cheat sheets that we keep so we know how to collaborate better with each other.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
I believe in it like big time. I've hired people over the years. Like most recently, we hired Mary Beth Nelson from The Right Resource. We've hired Chuck Presbury from Presbury and Associates, but we hire these leadership coaches, and the first thing we do if we have a new hire, the first thing we do is like disc assessment. Figure out what's the best way to talk to them or communicate with them, because we're all different. Fascinating stuff about the career and how you started your own thing. One of the things I was always impressed was even though we didn't do it, you knew well enough to have decent branding. And like I remember your presentation and your business card and your name and your logo, like you had all those things buttoned up. Who's in your corner that kind of helped you realize that stuff was important?
So the original logo that I came up with the name just based off like a job description that I had seen somewhere. And my ex-girlfriend was in communications.
There you go.
So she was like, this is what we need to do. This is important. Put everything together for me. And then I think she designed my first website too. So, I mean, it's all in Wix, drag and drop, but as far as like color scheme and all that, it was, she definitely pushed me in the direction of good branding. For sure.
Yeah. Well, a good woman always makes you better,
Well, ex-girlfriend, she can't be that good.
We won't go there. That's another show. We're going to keep this about business. That's your own private business. I won't dive into that. I'll spare you that. Although that could be a fun conversation. So your business takes analytics, data. I know that the pandemic affected it, but before we talk about what changes you made and what challenges you faced during the pandemic, how did you normally help somebody? Like I know that we worked together briefly. You work with the United Way, so you work with businesses that are for profit. You work with nonprofits, but specifically, you're asking for a lot of trust. You're coming into a business and you're saying, hey, I want access. I want to see numbers. But what's the upside to the business? What would be your pitch if you said to me, this is how I help businesses. This is why you should hire Tangible. What does that sound like?
Well, I think that the thing that I like to highlight that I feel is most important is growth. So let me give you an example. I have this client that I've been trying to grab for 4 or 5 months, and they're interested. They're like a packaging company or something, different state anyhow. They need some financial analysis done, and they have all of the accounting tools, and they're bringing it over, and they're in the process of really growing their business. So it's great that you said security or trust, because first I had to make a real heavy emphasis on like, this is my NDA, I won't share it, this and that. And they're nervous about it, of course, sharing financial data. But the benefit of me being involved in this project is that they're going to be able to focus on growing the business with the support of me pumping them the numbers. And as they make changes, let's say, I'm just being simple, distribution, if this distribution is better than the other and they don't recognize that, but with my analysis, they have the opportunity to pull that to front of mind and then make changes that could potentially save them millions of dollars in international growth, right? And that's just the most recent example that I could think of. There's even that project with the United Way that I was talking about so long ago, giving me access to information like that was definitely took a lot of trust. But I think that in the end of it, I mean, all of the funding that they were able to bring in from that, not saying it was like $1 million, but it was funding. Also, having the awareness of like, what were all of the expenses? Why were we spending all of this money in the past? Why did we see such a large fluctuation year over year in this project? Right? There's a lot that can be gained from this type of work.
Now, what are your plans to scale? I mean, if you get a few of these jobs, are you are you doing all the research yourself, or do you have any plans to hire some junior analysts to help you?
Yeah, so I actually just brought on a junior analyst maybe 4 or 5 months ago. Her name is Anna, and she's a lifesaver. She's very hardworking. Not hardworking, I shouldn't say. Smart. She's really good at taking guidance, or she takes my advice and she runs with it, right? And we have very similar method of thinking. So I'll say, like, I don't know, Anna, I need this created, and she'll create this and put my spin on it with her own, like, she'll use my logic with her touch. I don't really know how else to explain it. And that's just phase one. I mean, we're really pumping out a lot of marketing material now. Actually, a lot of it is based off of the template that you all created at Peralta, probably a year ago, but I just didn't have time to do it myself.
Yeah.
You know? And now I have her focusing on a lot of different stuff. I had the opportunity to pivot a little bit. I brought her on. I handle my stuff. She handles hers, a lot of the admin, some marketing, a lot of analysis, and just acting as a junior analyst. The other method of growth is I've built this team of people, and although they're not full-time employees, it's still a team that I associate my business with. And we've got, if I have a client that needs more executive strategy, I've got a guy, I'll bring on Charles Reese. He's a really smart guy. You probably know him from the New Haven Chamber. If I need some software development, I've got Rob. He's like my go-to. Another couple of guys from, it's just, the list goes on. I mean, I probably up to 8 or 9 team members now. So not to say that they're all working right now for me at this moment, but if I need to call on somebody.
Yeah, that's good. You're building, I think that's a great first step in scaling, is just building a strategic partnership, a good network, trusted vendors that can support you and your clients. Because if you're putting yourself out there, you don't want to be the bottleneck for all the work. If all of a sudden everything hits, and I'm very optimistic about this year that we're going to see a real uptick in business because the vaccine and everybody getting vaccinated by summer. We got a new administration. I think people are feeling like, okay, the pendulum's got to swing the other way. And I'm hoping that translates for all of us into more business. So what happened over the last 10, 12 months? I know we're going on a year of this COVID thing. How has that affected your business? You started out by saying you were happy that it actually, everything being virtual actually has been an advantage for you. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time at networking events. Spent a lot of time just kind of doing the footwork, meeting a lot of people. This is pre-COVID, and getting a better feel for how to sell this service or any of the products that I offer.
Mm-hmm.
And because I had that experience, and because we were forced to move virtual, I didn't have to spend all that time networking. Sorry, there's the traffic.
Hey, this is live, man. I mean, hey, yeah. You're in the real world. This isn't virtual.
So I didn't have to spend all of this time going to different events and meetings and all of this. I could just sit here and focus on building. So that was huge as far as saving myself time, especially since I was the one working on most of the projects by myself. And then when COVID hit and really got pretty serious, online events, we're mentioning like business expos. A couple of my clients now, they hold business expos. So I'm in the process of, I've been working with them for probably 6 months now. We have Zoho Analytics, similar to how everyone just migrated to Zoom. Now everyone's migrating to all of these different platforms to get some information because they need it at their fingertips, maybe rather than going into a boardroom and having a conversation based on the papers in front of them. Right. I don't know how much they did that before COVID, since it's still 2020, or it was 2020, but the technology is definitely there and more of a need now. So it gave me the opportunity to build on that partnership and offer these different solutions, and they needed people. So I just became a good a good outlet for them to send different clients to, or potential users of the program, which then turned into clients. So it's just also, and then I don't want to talk for too long, but
I don't care. That's what this is for. It's a podcast.
True. The funding, the municipal funding, really took off because there were just so many more opportunities. So it was much easier because I had this service and there aren't many people in the area that offer it. It was easier for me to move into that space. And then that person gave me this introduction, and then one thing led to another, and now I'm here.
Yeah. We started from the bottom and now we're here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I saw you in action. I have to agree that the networking in person thing, was a challenge. It didn't seem like the natural state for you. I remember being at certain events and you would hone in on somebody you wanted to talk to, and then you just make a beeline for them. And I could see how you probably navigate better remotely or virtually because you can work, you're more comfortable in this format versus being the guy that's out making the sales and meeting people, and then being the guy running the business and doing the work. It's very hard to do all of it. And I can see you in this climate, you just look more relaxed. You're talking about your business. You sound like you've gotten help to help you with the business. So if you can figure out a way to, get clients without the in-person networking events, or you have somebody else do that for you when that opens up again. And I don't even know what that's gonna look like. That's a whole nother topic. But I imagine that there'll be still this hybrid, even after everybody gets vaccinated. I think we'll still see this hybrid where sometimes you're networking, on Zoom, or you're in a virtual group, or you're marketing in other ways. Whereas before, packing in 300-400 people into a room with some hors d'oeuvres and then trying to navigate that scene,
Yeah.
I don't know that that's ever going to come back 100%.
No, maybe not in my next 10 years of living. It's it just showed us how easy this whole thing just showed us how easily we can be infected, right? It takes very little. One cough in a room can get 20 people sick, right?
Think about the coughing right at the hors d'oeuvre table, and then everybody's grabbing hors d'oeuvres or shaking hands. You're shaking hands, and then you put something in your mouth, and I think all of us are definitely going to be super germ conscious going forward. But I guess my point is that you're thriving. The nature of your business, your personality, all the analytics that you're doing, I think just lends itself more to behind the scenes and remote and virtual, right?
Yeah, well, I think that you made an interesting point when you mentioned watching me interact with people at events.
Yeah,
I can laugh, I can joke, feel like I'm at a party or schmooze if I need to, but when it comes to selling in person, I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I can't.
Yeah.
Right. So I just feel guilty.
Yeah.
Why am I trying? This guy's trying to enjoy his hors d'oeuvre.
That's the feeling that I got. That's what I'm saying. When I saw you in action, that I felt like you were, all right, I'm just going to dive in. I could see you almost like if it was a double Dutch jump rope going on, and you were all right, I'm jumping in right now, and I don't care if I mess up the rope, but I'm going for it. I could see that you had some trepidation about that because you felt like you had to sell, or you had to explain, or you had to pitch, and the truth is that just we're in the relationship business, regardless of what you're doing, and people trust you, especially in your nature of work. You're going to get, I think, better traction building legitimacy with your brand, associating it with these other services, like you mentioned, Soho, and getting good reviews and getting referral business. I don't know that being in those rooms and hitting people up one-on-one is really where it's at for you, for your type of business, you know.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And it was great that I realized, or had the opportunity to realize that forcefully, because I never would have just given up without having to without being required to give up. Yeah. You know? But toward the end of me attending these events, oftentimes, I mean, listen, when I started, I was wearing like blazers that didn't fit. And like you're saying, I would go directly into these people and just tell them everything about me, which was probably even poorly worded and didn't make sense to them at the time because I was super nervous. But toward the end, you're right. It was just a relationship. Whenever I would recognize when someone was new to it, was immediately say, "What do you do?" And I would always say, like, "What? If you want to know, let's get coffee." But I don't feel like talking about it right now.
I want to have to explain this right now. Yeah. So tell me what's I'm glad that you've thrived in COVID, you know, and that you had a good year and that these changes have been good for you. And you've hired somebody, so that's definitely a good sign of growing the business. What have you mentioned? I mean, this whole podcast came about because you said, "Hey, I want to get together. I got to tell you some new stuff we've been doing." What is new at Tangible as far as service offerings that can help small businesses, so that our listeners can kind of say, "Hey, you know, I could utilize that." Like, what are you doing now that you weren't doing a couple of years ago?
Yeah, so that's a good question. First, I've gotten much better at doing what I'm doing now. I now consider myself an expert, whereas before I was just an analyst, right? And then because of that, I was able to pre-construct, let's just say 3, 4, maybe 5 reports, rather than offering, because especially with COVID, I know that a lot of the smaller businesses, they don't have the funding for an hourly analyst or a consultant to come in, or to pay someone a huge amount of money to do this for them. So my thought was that if I pre-constructed a few reports that were just generic templates, and charged a nominal fee for to maybe connect data sources, and this information was just there for them to interpret. So I put together what I call small business packages, and they're just really simple, easy to understand reporting packages. It essentially costs nothing other than maybe a Zoho Analytics membership if you even opt into the premium stuff, which truthfully I think is worth it. It's like $30 a month, and you can share the reports as opposed to just having a basic plan. And I've just found that it's super valuable. And what I've done is I've built this off of experiences. Now that I have had more clients, or a greater number of clients over time, I've just seen exactly what they need and where their pain points are. So now I can build these reports that are pre-constructed around the pain points of potential clients. And if you needed some type of report to, distribute to your clients so that they can only focus on the results from your marketing efforts, I would have that pre-constructed so that once the data sources are hooked up, you're good to go, and your team can interpret it on their own without my intervention, unless
how do people get that? Do they have to buy it or download it, or?
No, so we would have to have a consultation. So initial consultation free. We'd have to have that meeting, and then I kind of just get their information, set them up with an account. Once I connect my account to their account, it's just a matter of connecting data sources, and I can transfer the reports directly to them. There's minimal intervention by me, other than the initial setup. And then so if they needed that, email, call, visit the website. There are plenty of links to submit requests, and all my contact information is there.
Okay. What's a success story that is somebody? Tell me a story of someone that's used this data and what happened? Did they save a ton of money? Were they able to grow their business? Like, tell me the upside of working with Tangible.
Yeah. So because it's my most recent, no, you know what? I'll go with the different. So we have this strategic partnership that I created with this IT firm out of Boston.
Okay.
And he's a good buddy. So he put me on this project, marketing me as his BI team, or me and my team as his BI team. So
and what's BI again? Business intelligence?
Yes, exactly. Business intelligence. So we're talking about a lot of new digital tools. So whereas he creates the infrastructure or an example of that. So we've taken over this project, and this company had an old database. Well, all right, they use Sybase to store their data, and then they use another software, I won't name it, to manipulate the information, and then another piece of software to visualize the information and report on it. So by bringing us in, we were able to kind of eliminate that middle step, connect directly from the database to this visualization platform, recreate all these reports. And if you saw the old reports, I mean, this is software that was built early 2000s, they were still using it. So we're talking like, looks like architectural schematics. But now that we've brought this in, it's live, and click on this and full dashboard filters and all these different tabs and shareable, different sharing settings for different departments can access specific pages of these tabs and gather this information, whereas they needed all these different logins. They had these very basic, simple reports. And just a quick example is, let's say they have manufacturing data and distributor data. So they would have a manufacturing report that said last year, and then a manufacturing report from the year before, and then a manufacturing report that said year over year, and then another one that compared manufacturer to distributor. But really, that's just two filters, right? Date range and distributor. So we just consolidated 4, 5, 6 reports into one. Mm-hmm. And think about the efficiency of that when you're in a board meeting or something like that. You have to present to, I don't know, investors or even just your team. Hey, this is what we have to do this week. Click a couple of buttons and it's already there. It's fully automated, right?
All right, I could see that. Now, for the small business owner, I can understand how you help corporations. Is that your target audience? Like, what would be your ideal client?
Right now, the ideal client is the government sector,
okay.
Municipal. I want to say business, but that's not exactly the right fit for long-term.
So kind of like you said you were working for Ansonia. So like the stuff you're doing for Ansonia, you could say is a case study you could use maybe to pitch Milford or pitch Fairfield, or like you can go town by town and then go state by state potentially.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely target that market a little more heavily, but right now I have a couple of campaigns running, one specifically focusing on Zoho Analytics BI tools as it applies to sales, another one for e-commerce, another for accounting services, or accounting analysis. And that is all tailored toward businesses as clients. So ideally, we want to talk about someone that is now doing virtual business because they have the information. I don't want to say specifically manufacturer or I don't know, accounting firms. Those are things that I used to say, but COVID has changed this so much that I never thought that I would have a client that hosts nothing but virtual expos, or I never thought that I would have a client that actually that one works. Manufacturing has been a big part of my client history, but you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. It's interesting that COVID has changed your pitch. That's a good takeaway, and that if you understand who your target is and you hone in on that niche, if you focus on municipalities, I think you can really target your marketing to go after those kind of clients. So you're not doing a shotgun approach. but you're basically saying then people can refer you and all you know how to what your messaging should be on your website. You know what organizations you should belong to, so you can be exposed to more of those type of opportunities. So that's excellent. So we're wrapping up here. It's been a lot of fun. What's the best way for folks to reach you? Because I know you're active on social. Do you have an intake form on your website you want to tell people about, or anything like that?
Yes, there's a basic form on pretty much every page of the website, initial consultation, or if you just want to have a quick meeting, name, email, phone number, submit. Or you just reach out directly. My email address is Bryan with a Y at tangibleconsult.com. Send me an email. We can schedule a call, see if you want to get together. If there's any way that I can help you, awesome. If not, we just have a conversation if you want to, as long as we both have time.
Yeah. Hey, man. Great. And I kind of envy you. I mean, I'm not downtown anymore like I used to be, but I've been meaning to get over to the Rogi shop. I don't know if you've been there yet.
It's delicious. Yes.
It looks like it. I keep wanting to go over there, and they've got the buffalo chicken ones today. And I'm like,
oh, really?
So, yeah, Rogi shop, right? You've been there?
Yeah, I've been there. I didn't know they had buffalo chicken, though.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. But, yeah, downtown is really coming along, man. And say hi to Dominic there and all the good folks in the building there at 415. But, Bryan, listen, man, this has been a lot of fun. I enjoyed catching up with you, and I'll let you know when this airs, man. And just thanks for joining. Thanks for being on the show. Awesome. Thanks. Awesome. Hey, thanks everyone for listening to this episode of Mission Control. Until next time, this is Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands.
Thank you for taking this journey with us. To learn more about Peralta Design and our work, go to www.peraltadesign.com and subscribe to keep up with the crew.